Our first speaker is Mr. John Rands. John has been an elected representative for the past 47 years. He is a Union QP president and a negotiator for 17 years, and then for the past 28 years he's been representing as the Metchosin mayor, alderman and school trustee. He is currently finishing his 6th term as mayor, that's a nice long time, and regional director. For the CRD at different times he has chaired Parks, Finance, Corporate Services and Planning and Protective Services Committee. He currently serves as chair of the Greater Victoria Labour Relations Association for the last 6 years. He is married to his lovely wife Cheryl for 40 years and has 4 beautiful children, as well as 4 grandchildren. He is a lifetime resident of Metchosin and assists Cheryl in the operation of their organic farm. Lots of berries and flowers. I wish you to all put your hands together and welcome John. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can I use this one? That's a great start, eh? Good afternoon, everyone. I've been asked today to speak to you about democracy and how we can apply it. And if you listen to my bio, you can see that I've been around a little while. So I've got some observations. They're just my opinions. Dealing with democracy or talking about it in a few short minutes is going to be a little difficult. So I just sort of going to ask you to bear with me. But one of the first things we need to know about democracy is that in a free system, democracy has to have boundaries. It has to be able to protect the minority as well as serve the majority. Christians were fed to the lions by majority vote. You know, I mean, it's cool, everybody got to vote, but the outcomes were pretty bad. So you need to have those boundaries. And the concept of having boundaries in government started 1,000 years ago with the Magna Carta. And the understanding that individuals have to have sanctuary from government, that goes back 500 years to the 1600s. The sovereign shall not cross your threshold. That was written right into the British common law, which is still applicable today. All your search and seizure laws, the privacy laws and everything have flowed from that. We've had wars fought over protecting those rights. You've got a cenotaph over there that honors the people that died protecting those rights. And yet in one stroke, BC Hydro, and enabled by the government, and all members of the government, not just the ruling party here, in one stroke they said, sorry folks, this is a new world, things have changed. All of that doesn't matter anymore. We now have the right to do what we want to your home. You do not have the right to control what goes on in your home or what gets attached to your home. And the reason, I mean, stuff like that should never have happened in a freely elected democracy, but it did. And the reason that it did is because the elected people didn't understand their responsibilities. They didn't understand that the responsibility goes beyond just making things work for the president. The responsibility is to protect our free system. And that they haven't done. And frankly, people, that scares the hell out of me. Technology is moving so fast and is so pervasive that if we lose the understanding of where that's going to take us, then we're going to lose our freedom. Government has right now the ability to monitor what we do everywhere. Facial recognition, everything else. I mean, it's getting to the point that they can monitor every activity. Well, now they want to monitor our activities inside our homes. But the technology is coming very quickly where they can not only monitor our activities, they can monitor our emotions, they're going to be able to monitor what we think. We must reestablish the laws, the idea, the belief that there is a line that government and corporations cannot cross, no matter how convenient or no matter how pervasive the argument is. So what do we do about it? That's the trick, isn't it? So we have to figure out where to best focus our energies. So do we start with hydro? Hydro going to help us? Well, you can forget that. It's a government monopoly that has a board of directors that's made $1 billion mistake. How much likelihood that they're going to admit to that at any time soon? How about regulatory agencies? It's my experience over a number of years now that there isn't a regulatory agency in this country that's got any teeth left when it comes right down to it. How about government? Well, yeah, government can help, but you have to understand that there's two parts to government. There's the one part, which is the elected people, and their job is to set policy based on what you want. The other part is the much larger part, and that's the bureaucracy. Their job is to expedite policy. So there's no point going to them because, number one, they're not going to help. It's not their job. Number two, it's not in their self-interest. So then that just leaves, and I really want to emphasize this, where you should be focusing your efforts is on the politicians. They're the ones that have the authority to change policy. They're the ones that have got the authority to rewrite the tariffs. And they are the only ones that will reestablish the boundaries that will protect us from them. But they're not going to do it unless we tell them to do it. And that leaves you. The ultimate responsibility for the protection of our society is up to you. It's up to us. It's up to all of the people that live in this world. And we have to get the message to the politicians. We have to tell them what it is that we want. I don't want to be cliched here or sound cliched, but if there's one message that I have to give you here, and that is that you have way more power than you think if you use it wisely. So, in that regard, I've drawn up a checklist for how to deal with politicians. Yeah. Just don't use it on me.
We want that checklist.
So, the top 10 things, or the top 10 ways of dealing with politicians here. So the first one, this is important. You have to understand who you're dealing with. You may not like this, but politicians are just like you. They come from you. They have the same motivations that you do. They're not evil. They're not a pack of liars. They don't want to do bad things to you. They're just stuck with a job that's complex, and in the case of the people here, quite adversarial. And we're all motivated by the same things that you're motivated by. We're motivated by the desire to do the right thing. We want to be seen as doing the right thing. People think that, you know, oh, the only thing that motivates a politician is votes. Well, I'll tell you something, that rarely comes into it. Sometimes, yeah, you worry about votes, but most of the time, you just want to do what's right. You want to do your job properly, and at the end of your term, you want to be able to say to yourself, you know what, I made a difference. I did do some good in this world. That's what motivates politicians for the most part. So your job then is to show them what the right thing is to do. You have to let them know what your problems are. We have to deal with many issues. The bigger the operation, the more the staff is constantly telling you what you need to do this, you need to do that. It's very easy just to go along and, you know, see that the work is being done, and that's fine. And I'll bet you that there's very few politicians in here that have any idea of the full ramifications of what BC Hydro is doing, and any idea of the suffering that it's causing so many people here. And the reason for that is because we're not getting the message to them effectively. I've got these notes here because one time I went to make a speech and I forgot everything that I was going to say. So I just got these things just to make sure that doesn't happen again. So anyways, so number 3 on the checklist. Don't just make a statement and leave it at that. It's very easy when you're a politician to, you know, okay, well, okay, that's what they want, and then, you know, on to the next thing. You've got to engage your politicians. Ask them questions, but ask them questions that are tough to answer. Ask for help. But more than that, once you get the answer, then follow up on it. That's the key. Develop a relationship. The whole idea here is to educate your politicians. So it gets us to number 4, and you know, this really kind of, I laugh about this one because it's so simple. But number 4 is be civil. You know, when you, and this happens, you know, I'll get a letter that's like 4 pages long, and it's usually dealing with, you know, it's usually about the CRD, but you know, it's 4 pages long, calling me a liar, a crook, a thief, you know, and everything you could possibly imagine. And at the end of it, oh yeah, by the way, can you help me out? You know? And you go, geez, you know, really? If they've got a case, you do help them out, but boy, I tell you, sometimes your heart's not in it. Make your politician want to help you out. Number 5, I tell people this all the time, don't ever get too technical when you're talking to politicians. Politicians aren't experts, we're generalists. You don't want a politician to be an expert because then he starts thinking he knows more about things than you do, and that's the last thing you want. We rely on experts. So if you come in with a highly technical argument and you look at it and you think, well, okay, that sounds all right. So you give it to your experts that you hire, in this case like BC Hydro, and they go, oh, no, that's not right. We're right. So who do you believe? Well, first of all, you have a tendency to believe the people you're paying. But more than that, you have a tendency to believe the people that are going to make your job easier, and, you know, sticking with the status quo is easier. So it's very easy to dismiss a technical argument. Technical arguments are great for convincing the public, for getting on side. What Sharon does, I think, is very powerful. You can see the technical stuff. But it's not necessarily that effective when you're talking with a politician. Next one, it kind of carries with that. Stick to fundamentals. Don't, if you're writing a letter or if you're talking to a politician, and I'm going to digress a bit. You can talk to politicians. I mean, don't be afraid to. We're your servants, you're not ours. Talk to them. Send them the emails. But when you do, don't go off on all sorts of different avenues. Don't vent all of your grievances, because it's very easy for then a politician to go, okay, well, you know, gee, that's a tough one, I don't want to answer that, but I'll answer these 2 and then my job's done. Don't do that. Stick to the point. The letters that impact me the most as a politician are the ones that point out how my decisions have caused hardship to somebody, or are causing problems, or are going to cause problems. And when you're talking to them, stick to the fundamental issues. Ask them, do you believe it's right that I can't protect myself from my family or protect my peace of mind within my own home? Is that right or wrong? Ask them that. Those are the tough questions. It doesn't matter whether the RF is good for you or bad for you. What matters is that your right to choose has been taken away from you. And if you can't afford the choice, it's not a choice. So these are the questions that you need to put to your politicians, the fundamental ones. No government, ask them, should a government have the right to monitor what goes on inside your home? Well, I think the answer obviously is not. So then you have to then push it into what you have to follow up with how they are actually doing that. Those are the fundamentals and the hardest ones for a politician to have to deal with and slough off. You don't want to give them stuff that they can dismiss. And after that very long diatribe, my next one is keep your message short and to the point. We don't have a lot of time, and email's a huge burden these days. So if you get an email that's several pages long, well, I mean, oftentimes, especially here, the staff will read it, you won't even get to see it. If you get an email that's even more than a few paragraphs long, you end up scanning it. If you want your point to be seen, if you want to get it through, make it short. Same thing when you're talking with them. And there's something I want you to understand is that you don't need a lot of people to get your point across. We don't need this place filled to the brim. I can't remember the amount of times, I mean, there's been so many, where I've had to deal with an issue, and that's what we do as politicians, we solve problems, the difficult ones, the ones that the staff can't. So you sit there and you think about it, and you think about it, and you worry your way through it. You figure, okay, this is the way it should be done. I've got all the answers. You tell your council, you sit down, staff brings it all together, and then one person gets up at a microphone and says something that resonates with you, that says what you're going to do is going to impact them adversely, and you think, you know what, they're right. They're right. And you change your mind. That happened to me last week at a public hearing. That's the strength that you have. An individual saying things that can impact the individual politician is as powerful as anything that you can get. You don't have to have the masses of people. And that's what we need. We need to get to the individual politicians. Number 9, don't compartmentalize your representatives. It's too easy to dismiss somebody because of the label. It doesn't matter what party your representative belongs to. It doesn't matter if you voted for him or not. It doesn't matter if you hate his guts. He's your representative. And it doesn't matter if you disagree on everything he says. If you can get him to agree on this issue, then that's what counts. This issue transcends right wing and left wing. It transcends Liberal and NDP. This is about our freedom. And if you were to ask anybody in there, what do you think about freedom? They would all tell you that they're there to support it. So forget the labels, forget who they are, work with them. This is a common issue. And I guess if there's one more message that I really, really want to emphasize, and that is have patience. And I know it's difficult when the RF is making you sick. And I know it's difficult when you can't afford to pay the extortion that BC Hydro is laying on us. But if there's one thing I've learned in politics, and that in the political world, victory takes time. I've won a lot of battles in my life, and it's not because I outsmarted my opponent, it's because I outlasted them. And a strange thing happens along the way. If you play the game right, those opponents end up becoming your allies. And that's how you win the war. The best example I think I can give you right now is the sewer issue that we've just seen. It just happened. Started out with a handful of regional directors who said to the CRD, look, your ideas are wrong. You're not thinking this one through. We need to think about something else. And then you had more people in the general population around here, scientists, technical people, and everything else that said same thing. You know, you guys, you're wrong. We really need to rethink this. And this went on for years. Those people never gave up. And then you had a courageous mayor in Esquimalt who was determined to represent the people of her municipality. And between her and her council, they brought the CRD and that huge momentum they have to a grinding halt. But they could not have done it if the public didn't get up at the right time and say the right things. They got up and they didn't get technical. They got up and they said, it's a bad idea and we just simply don't want it. And that was what enabled that courageous mayor and council to be able to do what they did, and it's what enabled the province to back them up. Folks, that's the essence of democracy. Whether you like it or not, winning this fight's ultimately up to you. It's a fight that we can win, just like the sewer issue, if we stick with it. It's a fight that we will win, but more than anything, it's a fight that we must win. Thank you.